And welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's been a couple of months since we last spoke, and of course we had the final month of the year. It was a very interesting 2025, and I know it sounds a bit late to sort of reflect on the year past, and usually nowadays you reflect on the year past at the beginning of December. But I wanted to sort of take a minute because there's a few things that happened last year, and mostly the conversation we have in the industry is revolving around this thing about what is a AAA game, what is an indie game, and how much of a AAA game is driving the market, whilst how much is indie games driving the market. And I think that overall, in strategy games we have the same kind of problem in a way. You've got the Annos and the Civilization of this world trying to sort of address a much wider audience, or trying to sort of attract more and more players with very, very high, what they call production values. And then you have the so-called AA games, like a Tempest Rising, or, by the way, is Europa Universalis a AAA game or a AA game or an indie game or whatever? It really depends on what is the budget, is the scope of the game. I think that really fundamentally what matters nowadays, especially for the types of games we do, is the depth and the gameplay, right? And having this discussion about AAAs and how much one spends to make games is a bit irrelevant. I mean, big studios will keep making big games. Indie studios, like one-man studios, will keep making games that try to break out and be successful. And this tension between the indie games that innovate because they need to capture new players and new audiences, and existing big franchises that are a bit locked into systems that their current generation of players are used to, will keep happening. It will always be that way, right? The problem is that we have to make sure that these days that production values are not the main object of making the games, but that our games keep attracting players because they are fun to play, have gameplay systems that work and that are attractive to players. And also really, the important thing, especially in this current market, I guess that the conversation being AAA and indie and this tension between the two probably is a bit irrelevant, in the sense that we should probably go back and think about how to make good games and how to make studios sustainable, and especially in the current environment, and looking forward to see how we think about the people making the games instead of all these other probably meaningless conversations. Welcome back, and this is The Hot Seat. So we don't want to stop discussing 2025. We really liked 2025. We still want to think about that for a second. Why? It's because we have sort of an added section to the show for the next few episodes, which is going to focus on trying to find what were the best games of 2025. And to discuss that and tell you how we're going to find it out, I've got a guest with me, Nuno, from strategy and wargaming website. Nuno, are you with us? Here you are. Yes, no. No. Are you is the connection working? Not working? I can see Nuno's face there, but I cannot talk to the face. All right, so let me go through a little bit of what we have in mind with the strategy and wargaming whilst we try and sort out the connection with Nuno. Basically, the idea we had at the end of last year was, why don't we try and ask the strategy gamers to select and elect the best strategy games of the year, mainly because us all being a bit kind of surprised about some choices of best strategy games category in some of the awards that are being popularized around the internet. So we thought, why don't we ask the strategy games players what they think the best strategy games of the year were. And ideally, what we're trying to do is going to be that we have on the Strategy and Wargaming website. You can check it out. We're going to post a link on the chat there. You're going to have a link to a voting form. We're going to try and elect 6 different categories: best licensed strategy, best DLC, best narrative, best debut, the best ongoing strategy game, and the best strategy game of the year. So how it works is going to work is that in the current form, you're going to vote for as an open question. So you will have just a blank space. You can just type whatever game you want in the different categories. Next month, in the next episode of The Hot Seat, we will have a rundown of the nominees coming out of these sort of open form category. And then by March, we'll be electing these games, and it will give you the winners of the 2025 best strategy games. Why are we doing it now instead of doing award ceremonies for 2025 games at the end of 2025? Well, the reason is that, of course, we wanted to have all of the games released in 2025 to have a chance to win the award, and also because it takes time to collect people's choice for what is a meaningful successful game for them. So we wanted to sort of give it enough time there. So we have Nuno. Do we have Nuno? Nuno, hello.
Hello, Marco. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. No, it's a pleasure actually. We're trying to do our best to make strategy games even more popular and have a much wider audience. So actually, thank you for the job you're doing with your website to do that. Nuno, do you how long have you been running Strategy and Wargaming website now?
Oh, I've been running Strategy and Wargaming for 9 years, I think. I think it started in 2017, but it had another name. It was called 1X Away. And then eventually, sometime I think in 2020, I changed it to Strategy and Wargaming to better reflect the kind of games I wanted to cover on it.
What is it that your readers like to read? What's the sort of type of successful article that works best in a website right now?
I think I have 3 main articles that work amazingly well. The first one, without a doubt, is lists. People just love lists because I think it's a very digestible format and you can read on the go. Like 90 to 80% of people on the website read on mobile. So that's by far the greatest driver for growth on the website, because I think it helps a lot. Like today, in today gaming scene, you have like 20,000 games being released a year. So this serves a sort of curator purpose here, right? So people want to nail down the kind of options they do have, instead of like having to trudge to Steam and try to find out, oh, let's see what 100 new strategy games came out this last couple of months.
Yeah.
They want to get like a very concise selection of games, and I think that's one of the reasons people love them so much. And then the other two articles are previews and reviews, because I think, again, it goes back to that sort of curator mindset. Like, people really want to know, is this game or are this new product worth me spending my money on? And I think that is by far the number of articles that get the most views.
If you were to select, let's say, 3 of the best games released last year in strategy, what would that list be? That short list be?
Oh yeah, that very easy. So I have 3 games that I think are by far the games that I have enjoyed the most in 2025. The first one would be Burden of Command, the one that came from Luke Hughes, and like, amazing game, great new wargame / RPG. Focuses a lot on the storytelling of the guys that fought in the World War II. A very unique take on that. The other one would be Europa Universalis 5, because I think it just takes the grand strategy genre into a whole new level. And the other one would be Broken Arrow, which is one of your games. And I think just Broken Arrow, again, takes the format of Warno and Wargame, Red Dragon, and just does something different with it, just by taking it into a whole new direction, taking it to modern day, which is something that I personally enjoy a lot. I'm not a great fan of the Cold War time period, so Broken Arrow, Europa Universalis, and Burden of Command are by far my favorite games of 2025.
Now, you look at a lot of games, I guess. You're probably seeing more Steam keys than most. Do you actually see any trend for 2026, or stuff that you think is going to happen, or is it going to be like a mixed bag as always?
I think that in 2026, we're going to see like a sort of continuation of what we've been seeing for the last 5 to 10 years, where the indie game market and the AA market is going to dominate strategy games, because it's the sort of place where there's still a sort of experimental mindset, and you start to see this with new games coming out. They try to blend traditional RTS, roguelike, RPG mechanics, colony building mechanics as well, and you can only see this kind of things where people are willing to experiment. So I think that we're still going to see a lot of games being released. The indie and the double market are going to dominate and still innovate when it comes to strategy games. And the other trend that I see is still a lot of games being released. So it's going to be very hard to separate the wheat from the shaft, right? So it's going to be really, it's going to, for me, it's good, right? Because, I mean, people love this kind of content, so I love it as well. But yeah, it can get overwhelming from time to time, because you get like 100 games or 100 Steam keys a month. And okay, let me see like 5 or 4 games that I can cover this month. And I think those are the main trends we're gonna see.
I agree. I understand that, it's hard to really separate the the good stuff from the bad stuff, or I wouldn't say bad stuff, but stuff that you see that it's not gonna be appealing to people, because as you're managing a website, you have to generate the views and everything. So you've got to also balance between, all right, I'm discovering a very niche thing, and also give a service to your readers, or for covering the big mainstream stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see. Sometimes you get surprised by what people are looking forward to, because you can cover like you think, this is a very niche game, but then you release something and gets like 20, 30K, 50K views, and like, I guess it's not so niche after all. People are really looking into that. And the opposite can happen as well.
So I explained it a bit whilst we were trying to figure out the connection. Explained a bit the awards. So going back to the awards, so the list of the awards is going to be best licensed strategy game, the best DLC, best narrative, which I think is. Oh gosh, it's becoming so important now, narrative in even in strategy games, that we had to put a game one about narrative. a debut, which is good for, of course, because lots of indie games being released. So we had to sort of add that ongoing because I guess this is an interesting category because nowadays games go on for a long time. So we want to be making sure that that's also part of the awards and the best strategy game. Is there any other rule that you have put, Nuno, on the list, or is anything valid? You can nominate anything.
Hey, as long as it qualifies as a strategy game, I think anything goes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of discussions about how to divide into categories, and I think that just be gentle in sort of qualifying strategy as how many strategic elements you need in a game to make it strategy. That's going to be an important element. So go on the Strategy Wargaming website, vote. We are going to look at all the voting before the end of February and announce a short list to go back and vote later on for a final ceremony in March. Nuno, thank you very much for being with us and for hosting the awards. And
thank you so much for having me.
We look forward to chatting about the games that have been shortlisted in February. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go plow quickly through the latest news in strategy gaming. Of course, very latest releases. So we just started the year, so we already have candidates for Best Strategy Game of the Year in that on the 5th of January. Terra Invicta was launched out of early access after a huge success into early access. So that's released on the 5th of January, already one of the best or most anticipated strategy games of the year, released in the first week of the year. This is Hooded Horse, one of the first games that was launched by Hooded Horse into early access, and one of the games that made Hooded Horse's fortune in their first steps into the market. So that's a great game. If you never sort of tried it out, I think it's a very good time because 1.0 is very, very solid. Another game that has been released in early access on the 20th of January, so last week, is it? Strategos from Microprose. So this is a game that we are also sort of very much looking into because it sort of speaks a lot to to the types of games we do. It draws a lot from the likes of Field of Glory and Scourge of War that we love, of course. Strategos has been just launched into early access, one of the most interesting history-based strategy games of this start of year. Microprose is also released, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, I think, Task Force Admiral in early access as well. So that's a big start of the year for Microprose. Good luck to our friends there, and especially Task Force Admiral. Looks like just way up my alley, so I'm gonna have it give it a go very, very soon. In other news, 4 launches. Citadellum launched on Switch just the start of the year 2. Again, city builders on Switch 2. I don't think there's many of these, so one opportunity to play this type of games on consoles. You don't get that very often. And in various announcements, of course, 2 months in between the last episode and this one, in the middle we had the awesome 25 years old celebration, the anniversary celebration for the Total War franchise. Many announcements, many talks about what is the future of the Total War franchise. Basically, like 2 souls of Total War these days. The historic heart of Total War, with Medieval 3 being announced. Very little detail so far, but a lot of anticipation for this awesome game, and finally, after all the requests from fans, Medieval 3 being announced, and of course the 40k Total War 40k announcement that was made in during the awards ceremony on December 11th. This is just to give you an idea of how important strategy games are for the platform. This is the fastest game to get to 1 million wishlist ever in the history of Steam. So this is like the level of anticipation that we have for this game, but also the genre and how powerful the genre is still on PC. We sometimes forget how powerful this genre is and how big and important it is in the Steam community. Of course, Warhammer 40k also means Dawn of War. There has been an Orcs CGI trailer released. Also in the meantime, Dawn of War 4 probably closer than Total War in terms of release dates. So if you like RTSs and 40Ks, it's just a great time to be around. Probably the best. Recently also, Hooded the Horse just announced 2 new games they've acquired. One called Architect of Ruin, and which I to be honest, of the 2 they've announced, this one is just like great graphical style, great look and feel, very interesting mechanics. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And the Boss Lords game, again, just been announced. In other news, Peter Molyneux, latest Master of Albion is releasing in April 22nd. That's the release date. It's just been announced for Mr. Molyneux's latest game. So hopefully we'll have the chance to play it a bit earlier. But otherwise, we're very much looking forward to that product. And I hope it's going to be as great as the name of his designer. Important, or very important, you stick with us, because on February 23rd, we'll have a new Steam Next Fest. So usually Steam Next Fest in February is really good because there's a lot of experimental stuff. I don't know if it's a trend or if it's just me, but I think that in this week of Next Fest is the one where, I don't know, there's a bit more innovation in general, less of a slam dunk, more of a like wide variety of things. So in the next episode of the show, we are going to look into a lot of these games and maybe have some suggestions for you guys to tell you what works, what doesn't, and maybe some hidden gems in the series. That's it for news. My first guest today, I'm going to introduce him just after this break.
Battle Plan is a new and innovative real-time strategy game set during World War II, centered on the Western Front against the German army. It brings historical accuracy and deep tactical decision-making, allowing you to draw and execute your plan directly on authentic, real-world maps. Every mission starts with preparation. The briefing delivers critical intelligence on enemy strength, objectives, and time constraints. You'll examine the map, evaluate terrain, and secure supply lines before issuing your first orders. Planning is more than a step. It is the foundation of victory. When combat begins, you command divisions made up of infantry, tanks, artillery, engineers, and scouts, each with specialized roles. You can merge units into powerful corps for large-scale offenses, or split them into regiments to hold broader fronts. Officers offer essential bonuses, but if their headquarters fall, your forces may suffer irreparable damage. The maps are made using real-world terrain, with some missions spanning more than 30,000 square kilometers. Use every hill, road, and forest to your advantage, and learn about the real battles that took place by viewing historical photos positioned directly on the map where they were taken in real life. The campaign features 10 historical battles, with armies persisting from mission to mission. Scenarios allow you to play as either the Allies or the Germans. Additional standalone missions and game modes further expand the challenge, pushing you to adapt and command under pressure.
All right, and to start the year in the bestest of shapes, I have a first guest today who I'm going to embarrass him now, but to me, he's a legend in design for strategy games. Currently CEO, co-founder, lead designer, and many other things at C-Prompt. Ian Fischer, welcome to the show, Ian.
Thanks so much for having me.
Ian, you were just to frame your career a bit. You started at Ensemble as.
I started Ensemble in '97. I was one of the earliest. I think it was like in the teens. I was a junior. I think I was the first actual person that had the designer title there. Although Sandy Peterson and I were hired on the same day. So. We would have had it at the same time, but my initial job was assistant designer to the. I had a very low. I made some scenarios in Age 1 and I did some balance work in Age 1, but it was definitely an entry level spot.
Yeah, and then but you went through the whole life of Ensemble, right?
Yeah, I was there till the very end, 2017, 2018, when. 2008, 2007, 2008.
Then moved to. After that you worked.
A chunk of people from after Ensemble was shut down, a group of us went and started Robot Entertainment. So that was largely 40-ish people from Ensemble that went and started that company.
That's a lot of games you've worked on,
it's been a long time.
If you had to sort of to pick any of the games that is a good starting point to start a conversation with you, what would that be?
There's a lot of games, and it depends on what conversation you want to have. But I think that Age of Mythology is one that I get asked about a lot because of the space that occupies, both in terms of career and in terms of strategy gaming and just kind of PC gaming in general.
This was a game that was really sort of making the transition from 2D to 3D, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. The programmers at Ensemble had started working on a 3D engine prior to that, and people were starting to get excited about 3D, but that was the first time that we decided that we were going to move over and do 3D. The prior Age of Empires and Age of Kings were all 2D games.
Was the move to 3D like all right, everyone's doing 3D, so we have to move 3D? Was it like a decision of that type, or was it like we want 3D because it has innovative gameplay elements? What was the decision there?
It was pretty early, so it wasn't. There were other 3D titles, and there was plenty to look at on 3D and get excited about with 3D. But like I said, we had some programmers that were working on an engine for 3D to begin with. So as soon as I remember getting our first kind of look at it when, a lot of people don't understand how kind of 2D was put together way back then, but. all the colors and everything had to be done with a palette. So you had a certain set of colors that you could show, and they had to go build the palettes for that. So if you wanted to do a night version of your stuff, or if you wanted to do a different lighting model in your 2D game, you had to redo the entire palette, which took a long time and was a lot of work. So the first time that I think we saw the engine up and running, and somebody just like moved the slider and changed what everything looked like on the screen, it was everybody just kind of got very excited about it, and then you started to see what you could do. I mean, you can do some fantastic stuff with 2D and pseudo 2D, 3D looking terrain done in 2D. But when you see the actual terrain that you can put together with a mesh with 3D space, we got really excited from a strategy game point of view of being able to build environments that were more complex and more interesting.
Because then it was a long time after, but in sort of looking at in perspective, probably not that long, but you started then working in Halo on a Halo Wars game, and there's a lot of elements of our games, or the games we do, are complex, and there's an element of accessibility across the board, right? So you want to make sure that, I mean, the move to 3D sometimes means that because it's 3D, it's prettier, and people maybe are more attracted by it or less scared of by it. How much do you think that these elements are helping widening the potential target audience, like working on a Halo game or?
Yeah, and moving to 3D. I mean, the very first question you have when you go from 2D to 3D is camera. How are you handling camera controls? Are you going to allow people to deal with camera controls? And that's a problem for accessibility, because just a lot of players, even today, a lot of players have problems in 3D games, 3D strategy games, with manipulating the camera. So you have to deal with those things. Accessibility was always an issue at Ensemble. Certainly having access to something, and Halo Wars didn't start out as a Halo RTS. It started out as there was a sci-fi RTS that we were working on. It turned into Halo Wars later. But if you can have an IP like that, you already have a group of people who are fans of Halo. So they maybe don't play PC RTSs. They're interested in Halo. You can bring some of those people over to get exposure to strategy gaming. You have that going out primarily on console first anyway. So now you're attracting a group of people that probably haven't played, or some people at least out of that group that haven't played PC strategy titles. The 3D side of it, potentially you're getting art or a view of the world that's more attractive to certain audience. So maybe you're bringing more additional people in with that.
It's interesting because we think that because the games we do are complex, the audience is small, but ultimately, Age of Empires 2 you worked on shows us that there's millions of players out there, potentially playing these games, and accessibility is a factor. But how do you balance a game being for everyone, like Age of Empires? It's almost like, is it for everyone, or is it that it's become a game like an entry point to the genre? And then how is a game for everyone, and how you mix it with very complex, deep mechanics?
Yeah. It has. I think the Age series has broad appeal, and a lot of that is because history is just a fantastic IP. It's something. There's something in history for everybody. So starting at that point, you get a lot of potential people that are interested in the game just because of that baseline. Accessibility was always an issue. It was always something that we fought about at Ensemble a lot. We definitely had, in terms of difficulty levels, in terms of, does somebody have a PC? Anything that you could think of. We used to maintain a board where we would list down all the reasons why somebody might not get your game. They can't afford it. They don't have a PC that can run it. It's too complicated. They don't understand it. We would try to address all the issues that we would see with it. And our boss there, Tony Goodman, was always one of the people that was on the side, and Bruce Shelley for that matter, were always people that were on the side of we should make this game as accessible as possible for everyone. Tony famously would, for difficulty level, he would test your scenarios on he was the guy that was our proxy for easiest. And Tony would start your scenario up, sit down. As soon as it fired up, he'd get up and go to lunch. And if when he came back, your scenario, he'd been beaten in the scenario, then it wasn't easy enough, and you had to go readjust it. So
how long was that lunch?
Well, in Tony's case, sometimes Tony just wandered off and didn't come back. So you had to make sure that your scenarios were not going to auto-defeat. But he always wanted to figure out how you could bring more and more people into it. And I think he had this perspective that if you experienced it, you would learn that you liked it, even if you didn't think that you were going to enjoy it. So he was always looking for ways to make things less complicated and bring people in. That's great. And Bruce had a very similar perspective on gaming, I believe. But you can get to a certain point on those things where it becomes dangerous for your design, because some of the changes that you're going to make to accommodate everyone are going to be changes that are going to alter the fundamental game. So you want to make it accessible. You want to make it so that as many people can come in. Of course, you can see how much tutorials and so forth have become important and inviting players in. I mean, strategy games definitely don't have the best reputation of being like, sit down and you're going to have fun right away. But it's become more important to be able to bring people into it. But at the same time, you have to be careful, I think, because if you're making everybody happy, there's definitely that risk that you're building kind of a vanilla game. Trying to go after everybody is you want to go after a group of people and you want to make them very, very happy, and I think that gives you an opportunity to build up. But you're going to have some people that just, it's not their game. It's not what they like.
Hey, talk about tutorials. That's interesting, because when in the process are you actually thinking about adding a tutorial to the game and how that tutorial will play?
We always say it depends on the developer. For us, we're always thinking about tutorial. We're always thinking about how somebody's going to get in and get involved in the game. But tutorial is one of the things, along with like user interface, is one of the things that we try to keep towards later stages of development. The reason being, we do a lot of iteration in our development. We like to start small, go ugly early. We like to try to get things in there so that we can iterate very quickly, because our experience has been that iteration is where you get to, I mean, all the age games were built this way. And it's really Bruce's philosophy of this that came from working on Civ with Sid, is kind of like, you sit down, you play your game, you write down all the things that you hate about it, you change those things, you go do it again, and you just keep doing that for 100 years, and you end up with a piece of gold. So we try to do it that way, but that also means you have to be accommodating to things that can change that you're not going to know about on day one. So if in month number 1 you start building your tutorial, in month number 3 or 4 or 5, you're going to need to build that tutorial again, because it's not going to be the same game. So we try to keep it towards the part where usually we're starting to think about that at the time when we go from kind of a closed beta of invite-only beta or friends and family beta to going to external beta, where you have people that you don't know personally that are going to come in and start playing.
Yeah, because I think one of the very hard parts, what I call the curse of the vertical slice in strategy games, is that until you come to the completion of the game, you don't know if the game is gonna actually work, right? Because it's almost impossible to sort of validate systems without every system in the game being there, right?
Yeah, for strategy games for sure have that problem. It was always a thing with the age games when we kind of joked that none of those games were fun until the week before they went out the door. It's just kind of the magic and the reason for that is because that's when everything got turned on. That's when all the pieces were finally done and in place, and you could play it from start to finish, and you didn't have to imagine the pieces that were gonna come into place. But I mean, vertical slice I think a lot of people look at it as kind of the numerical, like, okay, how long did this game take to make? It took 2 years. Well, all right, so let's take it at 10% of that time. You'll be able to get you can't, not for a strategy. Like a vertical slice for a strategy game, for most strategy games, is build the entire game, and there's your vertical slice. You need to see it all.
And how do you tackle this when you have to pitch ideas?
Yeah, it depends on who we're working with. That's why working on strategy titles, it's always nice to work with people that understand how strategy development is done. I mean, the games industry is pretty large. There's a lot of people that work on games. There are far fewer that understands how games in development look, and it's even a segment of that understand how strategy games look when they're in development. So your first preference is work with publishers, work with other people who understand strategy games and development. But when you can't do that, we do our best to find ways that we can communicate, hey, this is what this is going to look like, or this is what this is going to feel like. Rob and I, my co-founder and I, our philosophy on this is we feel to a certain extent that you're doing your partners a disservice if you give them what they want in a certain way, because I can give you a prototype that looks like a final game, but the way that you do that is by just lies, smoke and mirrors. You're not building the real game. You're building this prototype that somebody can go look at and say, oh, I get what this is going to be. But then my team has to basically go delete all that and start building the real game because you've cut so many corners to build that prototype. Our preference is to spend as much time as possible building the actual game. And when we end up working with people that understand how strategy game dev works, we get to do the most of that.
Is there an element of trying to capture other games' feeling in making these prototypes? Is like, okay, my game is going to be a bit like this, or very much like this with the addition of this and this, or because now we have enough history of many games being made that you can relate to that a bit, right?
Yeah, you'd think, because there's language to it, right? It's like the old Hollywood saw of, it's this movie meets this movie. So there's enough of that in the games world that you can say, hey, the idea that we have is kind of this game with this game. But the issue that you run into a lot with that is everybody defines everything differently, or the things that people take away from, the most important thing about this game is this, and the most important thing about this game is this, and not everyone agrees on it. So the picture that you put in somebody's head when you start to use that, unless you're very precise about it, can be just as dangerous.
Very different.
We had this problem, think about it this way. At Ensemble, we had this problem with what our game was, to be able to talk about what we were doing with sequels with our own developers, with the people that had done it. Like, what an age game was meant very different things to people that have been working on the age games for 5-6 years.
Which is one of the reasons why people still play Age 2 and are harder transitioning to other age games, because they still like Age 2, right? That's what they like. They don't want...
Yeah, it's funny. I talked to some of the people that are still working on the Age games, and every time that I talk to, it's like annually I hear that Age of Kings had its best year last year. Like seems like it happens every year.
It's just crazy.
So it just continues. Like strategy games are for that. They don't have that traditional curve where a strategy game comes out and 2 months later it's sold everything that it's going to sell and it's going to taper off. Strategy games. A good strategy game is there 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years.
Yeah. And how was you went from being a small studio, as you said, employee number, whatever,
I think it's
13 or something. And so small studio grew into, for a strategy game developer, a big studio, right?
Yeah, at that time, in that like 2007, 2008 era, I think with the contract and everything, we ended up at 150, 170 people on an Ensemble at the end.
Which was a fairly large team back then, right?
At that time.
And then Robots was quite a big studio. It was
40-50 to start, and then we kind of grew to the same scope when on Orcs Must Die Unchained. That team grew substantially. I don't remember what our final numbers were. I don't think we were ever as large as Ensemble, but it was still a large team.
Yeah.
It had all the large team feel at that point.
You started again at C Prompt, right?
Yeah.
So how's it feel? Or I wouldn't say how's it feel, but it's like, is it starting again every time, or is it more like going back to what you liked?
I mean, C-Prompt exists because it's going back to what we like. Don't get me wrong, there are things that I like about working on big teams. There's when you're working on a large team and with a larger budget, everybody that I worked with at Ensemble and Robot, they were fantastic devs, and I'm very happy for the time. I'm still have a lot of relationships and friendships with people there. And there's a lot of fun to working on those large projects with large studios. But man, over time, we fought against it so much, but there's a limit to what you can do. It gets to be so slow, right? You're having meetings, you have to convince people. When you're 12 people and you can all get in a room and you can kind of have one idea in your head, everything moves very quickly. When you get to that next layer where, okay, we have to go explain it to this group and this group and this group. And both Ensemble and Robot were consensus-oriented places. I can remember like Age of Mythology, before we decided to do Age of Mythology, My job was literally to stand up in front of the entire studio, which is 40 or 50 people at that point in time, and get them to all agree to what we were going to do next. And it was like 3 days of standing in front of a whiteboard and writing down everybody's ideas and being like, all right, we're never going to get it done. We can't agree about where to go to lunch. We're not going to agree about what game to do next. It becomes really, really difficult. And having that kind of central vision for a game and being able to pursue, that was kind of the thing that we missed, is like being able to have one core idea and being able to execute on that idea, not really having to justify or get 50 people on board. There are games that we really want to make. There are ideas that we're really excited about. You can't always get everybody of a 50, 60, 70 person team on board with that concept, and we wanted to be able to pursue strategy games. We wanted to be able to pursue some of those ideas. So we took the risk and went and did C-Prompt, and that's kind of what it's about.
That's great. That's great. Ian, thank you for joining us. I have a little final little game for you, which you're going to like. So we have basically drawn from the vast amount of strategy games from Steam. We have taken the short description, so top right of the product page, and I'm going to read this out to you, and you have to guess what game it is.
All right.
Ready for the first one? We have 3 for you. All right, the first one says, this is going to be easy. Shape the Roman Empire in this genre-defining strategy builder game. Build cities while expanding your influence through Roman provinces. Govern using your economic prowess, diplomatic skills, or military might.
Yeah, but this could be 10 different games on there.
That's the point of the game.
Rome Total War?
It is Anno 117, just released from Ubisoft, the more recent one, yes. Right. I've got a second one for you. A game about building and creating automated factories to produce items of increasing complexity within an infinite 2D world. Use your imagination to design your factory, combine simple elements into ingenious structures, and finally protect it from the creatures who don't really like you.
That sounds like Factorio.
It is Factorio. That's 1 point. And my third one for you is, you're going to like this one. Slice them, burn them, skewer them, and launch them. No matter how you get it done, orcs must die in this fantasy action strategy game. Who knows what it is?
I believe that would be Orcs Must Die.
That is it. Was it number 1, number 2? How many of them? Like 3.5, right?
Robot just did another Death Trap, I believe, just released. We did Unchained, Orcs 1, Orcs 2, and there's one, I think 3 is in there as well. Yeah, so 4?
4.5.
4,
4.5. All right, well, thank you very much, Ian. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Guys, I'm going to have now our traditional section of our beloved bearded board game guy, Paolo, with his Tabletop Corner, and we'll be back with our next guest.
Hi guys, and welcome to the first 2026 Tabletop Corner episode. To start, let's have a look at the news from World War II themed tabletop wargaming games. Both Battlefront and Warlords have some news. For example, Warlords just launched the pre-orders for the new Japanese army. You can see now some of the new boxes. This one, for example, allows you to play with up to more than 42 tin soldiers from the Japanese army and a couple of tanks and guns to start the invasion of all the Pacific island. This other one allows you to play with a friend because it contains 12 miniatures for the Japanese and one of their light armored tanks, and 12 Marines from the US, obviously, with an artifact. And also the box includes everything you need to play. For example, all the order dice, the tokens, and everything you need to start playing immediately. Battlefront finally launched the early war books. The first one is Blitzkrieg, that you can see here now. The books and the boxes will be available from February. And in the Blitzkrieg book, you will find the German army invading France with their formidable tanks and Wehrmacht units, the French trying to defend the Maginot Line, and the BEF, the British Corps, trying to defend the north of France up to the Dunkirk event that they used to leave the continent. Early war is a bit different from mid and late because there is a lot of infantry, a lot of guns, and very small and fragile tanks like the Saumur from the French, the Panzer I and II from the Germans, and the mighty Matilda from the British. And now, let's have a look at the board game of the month. We played almost all Christmas time playing with our friends at City, the game where you are looking for alien signals around the space. The City Games features a huge and very detailed board that, in true sci-fi fashion, reminds us a bit of the Star Trek Enterprise with this round shape. In this game, each player controls a scientific institute like this one or this one, up to 4, but you can also play solo. And they scan the solar system that is here, you can see the planets and the asteroids, and the deep space that is here up to here, looking for aliens and their traces around the solar system. You will see that there is planets here like Earth, Mars, and so on here in the central part of the board. And then you can move also to the external part and deep space, looking for any signs of extraterrestrial activities. You can launch probes, for example, like this one, to explore the solar system. You can use these multifunction cards that allows you to have very interesting random bonuses, or sacrifice them to get some resources. When you will get enough knowledge about the aliens, we discover these 2 panels here. And this is a very good part of the game because you will not know which kind of aliens you will find. There are 5 different races, and a very good thing of the game is that in the first games, if you do not spoil yourself looking at these tables, you will discover them just playing. So you will find aliens that helps you in some ways, or maybe that are more difficult to contact and exploit. Although City seems a very complex game, I think that the rules are quite clear, and once you learn how to play and the pace of each turn, you will be able to do a game with friends in up to 2 hours. I also think that any player that is interested in strategy and management will enjoy this game, and that can be played at least 5 times with something new each time to discover. And now let's have a look to something unique and strange. P-Works is an Italian company specialized in war games and role-play. They produces a lot of supporting items like the mats to play war games or your session in role-plays. This pack is something really interesting. It includes everything you need to create a map as a master, and creates very interesting and well-constructed dungeons for your party. Let's have a look and unbox it. Okay, in under 3 minutes we created our map set in a dungeon, and now it's ready to be played by our party. As a master, we can put things like this one that are the doors, or for example the pillars, or maybe we can have this thing with lava, or also some traps that you can put around. When the party arrives and opens the door, you just put another room with all the items. The content of this board is more than 60 pieces that you can use for your dungeon map, and they also have a specific set for tavern, for example, or caves, so you can have different location and layouts. The cost is very small because it's under $25, and it's really helpful to play with friends as a master because it gives you a very good-looking map in very few minutes. Obviously, you need also some miniatures to play if you want to fight your battles to explore your dungeons and fight your battles. If you don't want to buy miniatures, paint them, and so on, P-Works has this solution. It's like wood card shapes. This one is for heroes. It contains 9 tokens and it costs less than $10. And you have some iconic characters. You can see it's very detailed, but it doesn't break when you take out of the forms. And you just need to put on the round shape, and you have your party ready to explore. And there are different set of these characters. You can also have a lot of monsters like wolves, for example, or pirates, or undead. So you can buy these little boxes and populate your map and your games with very quick and detailed shapes for your games. Hope you enjoyed the first episode of Tabletop Corner of 2026, and see you next month. Meanwhile, if you have any suggestion of any games or anything that you want to see in Tabletop, just let us know.
Yes, do write a lot of emails to Paolo, because he likes reading emails and he doesn't receive many emails. So I would like him to work a bit more on his stuff. So write to him, just write him, not suggestions, just stuff. My next guest today is someone who's very excited about an upcoming game he's doing. He's the CPO of Jumpgate and CEO at GameExcite, Patrick Streppel. Patrick, nice to meet you, nice to see you, and welcome on the show. Patrick, as I said, you're very excited, and for an approaching release. You are the main guy behind the upcoming Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown, right?
Yes, 18th of February, so 3 weeks to go, and everything that goes wrong is going wrong every day. So, but I'm happy to be here and have some distraction. Yeah.
Just fake that everything is going fine. Star Trek Voyager, you have announced it at Gamescom, right? Not long ago.
Yes.
So very short window from announcement to release, but very much longer window of developing the game, I guess. How do you come up with the idea of making the game as it is?
Yeah, so we had the idea literally 3 years ago, after finishing our last title, which was a hero collection game with Asterix and Obelix, and we thought, okay, we want to do something different, a space strategy game, and I'm a lifelong Star Trek fan. I mean, I don't know if you will see that on the camera, but I have my little L-cars here on my phone, and I'm not in uniform today, but I'm a hardcore fan. I grew up with Next Gen and all the other shows. Going to conventions and so on. So Star Trek was the first choice. And we wanted to do, so we're a studio that has experience in building strategy, having done Asterix and Friends, and then RPG. And so we thought, okay, what is kind of the good combination for us? And at the same time, what is a great Star Trek game? What is really the power fantasy? Well, you want to be a captain, right? And you want to manage a ship. And Star Trek Voyager for us came to mind because it's such a strong show. And it hasn't been done in that way that you're really commanding Voyager and bringing it home. And I really feel that these two things came together quite well, where our concept aligned very, very well with the IP. And then we pitched it to Paramount, and I mean, a small indie studio from Germany, right? Nervous as hell. And I think they loved also the idea. They felt our passion for the IP, and they loved the idea. They said, well, nobody has done anything like that.
When you build a game like this, do you try and fit the IP into the game idea? So the game, I don't know, just to introduce this, is a bit like it's an FTL / Frostpunk, right? There's a mix of the two genres.
Yeah.
So did you come up with the design idea first? And then attach the license, or say, all right, it could be good with this license? Or was it more like, I want to make a Star Trek game, see what works within the scope of what I know could work as a game?
I agree with you that many IP-based games are, well, the developer did this previously and let's just reskin it. And you feel it because it only gives you like 90% of what the IP would expect. I think here it was really a really good fit because we wanted to do an FTL-style game. And we thought, well, Star Trek Voyager as an FTL-style game makes total sense, right? Throughout development, then the concept changed a little bit. So you brought up those two analogies. It's right. We came up with FTL meets Frostpunk. So the idea was that Voyager is your avatar, and we have this nice side view resembling what is on the back of the bridge. But anyway, the side view was supposed to be your character, right? Like in an RPG, when you press the C button and then you see your loadout and you just stuff the things in. But people really like the side view, to zoom into the rooms to see what the characters are doing and so on. And also, we realized that Voyager is very much about survival and managing your ship and managing your crew. So we pivoted a little bit from this FTL-style game and became more a survival strategy game. That was the stronger part. And then the other thing is, when we looked at the storyline, we realized how important it is to the IP, and all these big story moments like 7 of 9 coming aboard, the Hyrogen, all those big steps in there, so we became more story focused and a little bit more linear, I would say, than a pure sandbox game like FTL.
In terms of, Star Trek is a huge universe. And by the way, is Voyager your favorite?
Can I say it's Deep Space Nine?
All right,
that's
okay.
my favorite. But Voyager is a close second.
Close second, okay.
I basically ordered. So at the time it was dubbed in German TV, and it took about a year. So I basically went on eBay to buy VHS tapes that people had recorded from the UK and sent them to me. So I watched, including the UK advertising at the time, to watch it early on. So I'm that kind of a hardcore fan.
All right, okay. You can say that now, but that's grey market, is it?
Yeah.
Star Trek is a huge world, and it's also a huge audience. I guess that you have to please. This audience, as I see it, is built in a sort of a funnel way, where you have at the very top you've got people are interested in Star Trek, right? They might be interested in because they like the idea, the universe, the characters, and so on, but they don't know much about it. At the very bottom of the funnel, you have the super hardcore fans, right? What kind of relationship you set up with the community of fans, or like light fans and core fans, and how did they interact with the development?
Yeah, I mean, our vision from the beginning was, again, we built the game from the ground up to be a Star Trek Voyager game. We didn't just take something existing and slap a coat of paint on it. And being a hardcore Star Trek fan, for me, it was very important that we are as close as possible to the IP. Let's say all the technology in the game, that is realistic, that it's doable, that it's from the show. And so we had a very high standard. Then again, when we announced the game, people came up with the very first trailer and said, well, this uniform here is a little bit different, and you forgot a door in the main engineering room. And it was great. It was great that people looked at it that deeply, and we changed it, of course, right? We also have some beta testers from the community who help us and who point out things. So yeah, we're very open to it. Obviously, for the game to be a success, we also need to address non-Star Trek fans, so people like maybe in the audience who don't really watch the show, but who like FTL or who like Frostpunk. So I hope that we manage to introduce them to Voyager and make things understandable without having the background of the lore. Because ultimately, it's a survival strategy game, right? And you can enjoy it even if you are not into Star Trek.
Yeah. Well, there's an element there of, and you rightly mentioned, Frostpunk, where there's a big narrative element to it. Narrative as in, telling a story, like a high story, but also character story. And Star Trek is a sci-fi show, but it's mainly about the people, right? Mainly about the characters, and that's what makes it human and good. How do you add that layer to a game like yours, in general, to a strategy game?
So we don't really have character drama. So for example, the love relationship between Torres and Paris, that doesn't really happen in our show because we also don't have the means to tell it. What we try to do is that gameplay and storytelling really interacts. So let's take your ship build, right? Your ship is your avatar and you decide you want to make a combat ship. So in the missions, even though the rough path of the Voyager is always the same because it has to get home, right? It can't just go the other way. But if you have a combat combat ship, you have different options to react in dialogue. NPCs will react differently. You might have different outcomes of a certain sector. So if you play the game a second or a third time, you can really have a very different experience. So while we're not going to character drama, we have most of the big episodes as main quests, and then we have a lot of Easter eggs, side quests, and so on. So it's very strongly story-driven, but not on a character level.
Well, when you're doing a game, you're with an IP or a show you're so passionate about, how much of your input there is in, all right, we should add this Easter egg or this character or this episode, or, you know, how much is that personal?
It's very personal. I mean, people already spotted Tuvix, but we have one in there. We have, and also the choices that you can make. You can have Seska stay with you until the end of the show, right? And then you ask yourself what would have happened. So there's a lot of those smaller things, and yes, it's very personal. I try to cram more and more in. Maybe we can do even more after launch, because there was only so much time in the end, right?
And you think that's important to you as a designer and to a small amount of people, or is it, there's a lot of talks about some of these Star Wars and Star Trek and Marvel and shows being like fan service, like, you know, to sort of addressing a very, very, very niche audience of super hardcore fans. Did you put these things because, you know, you think they make a better game, or is it just like, you know, just because you like the idea?
A lot of that is gameplay relevant. Like, for example, you can get a cloaking device, right? And Voyager doesn't have that in the show, but we'll explain where you can get it from. It's very hidden in the game, by the way. But once you get it, it's a really strong item. You can avoid a lot of the combat, and you can play the game very differently. So that is one thing. But on the other hand, I really think, I said to our publisher, I want to make the perfect Star Trek game. And people can decide soon if we came anywhere close, but that was the idea. We really doubled down and did overtime and everything to make the perfect Star Trek game. And then the hope is that the fans, realizing the love that went into this, going to be ambassadors. And they're going to tell their friends who are not hardcore Star Trek fans, well, look, play this game, it's great. And maybe even, like we did test reviews with some journalists and asked them to write reviews, right? And we chose one who was a hardcore fan and the second one, and then one person who wasn't a Star Trek fan. And when she handed in the review, I really had to smile, because she said, I wasn't a Star Trek fan before, but this game made me start watching Star Trek Voyager. I mean, that's the best compliment you can get. Yeah,
for Paramount as well. There's, you know, we talk about all the things that are adding to the game. Do you think that as elements of the license, the environment, the setting, the characters, that have limited your ability to deliver gameplay elements?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is what I mentioned earlier. Initially, we wanted the game much more sandboxy. I mean, maybe there will be something after launch to address that. But then we realized how strong the story is. So again, you can't fly the other way, right? You're going to eventually meet the Borg, because it doesn't make sense to fly around Borg space. You eventually going to have some of the jumps where Voyager skipped a lot. So that is one thing, but it's also the strength, because again, we have a strong narrative because of it. And then the other thing is, we want people to make evil choices, but as you play Captain Janeway, you can't be truly evil, right? Like, she wouldn't fire first, she wouldn't space people, right? And I also, again, think that's important. I mean, Star Trek, to me, the vision of Gene Roddenberry was always that we show a better future where humanity has outgrown some of our issues currently, right? It's very progressive about accepting other beliefs, accepting other religions, etc., and finding a way to work together. So we really try to bring back this 90s Trek feel, where ultimately, yes, you're trying to survive, but not at all odds, right? So yes, you have decisions in there, like you split up Tuvix. If you help people and then your own crew is starving, you have those difficult decisions in there, but we don't have child labor like in Frostpunk, right? And we don't fire first.
That's very interesting, and I think that ultimately, I mean, you're coming from a journalist background as well, right? You know, so that's where how you started in the industry, and I think that having this perspective of, you know, what is going to be the impact of my game towards press and influencers now, creators and such. there's an element of that too. What would you sort of recommend to a journalist or a creator to look into first? What are the key elements of the game that you think should be highlighted? Because I get frustrated sometimes when I see media or creators are playing a game and they don't really spot the stuff that I think is important in a game. What do you think are the big factors that make this game kind of different and outstanding?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I watched all the influencer videos so far, and there was a lot of criticism, like for example on the combat and so on, which we tried to address. I spent up last night because we released a exploration deep dive video. I went through all the comments, negative, positive, and so on. So I take that very seriously. However, what I think is important, when we set out to make the game, we said we're going to have exploration, building of the Voyager, we're going to have space combat, and we're going to have away missions. And publishers said that's too much. You have to cut one thing. You're an indie team. You're taking too much on, right? Focus on one thing. Why don't you just do exploration? Why don't you just do this? And I said, that doesn't make sense. The power fantasy, what we want to do is we want to put you in the shoes of the captain of the Voyager. And if you don't have away missions, it's not really Star Trek. If you don't have space combat, it's really Star Trek. So what would be great is if influencers would see that we try to get this power fantasy right, and that we maybe not every element is 100% perfect, but it's the combination of elements and how they influence each other. Combat damages your rooms. That means you have to rebuild. For rebuild, you need the resources, which means to explore more. That can lead to more combat. So it's all connected.
Very cool, very cool. Patrick, thank you for joining us. I have I will do this little game to you. I did for Ian earlier.
I was warned, yeah.
You was warned. So this is like, again, so we're going to read the short description of a game that's a strategy game that's on Steam, and you have to guess what it is. I wouldn't say it's in increasing difficulty. They're all there. You've got easy ones. You ready?
Yeah.
Right, number 1. Use war, trade, or diplomacy to satisfy your grandest ambitions and dominate 5 centuries of history in the newest version of Paradox flagship historical grand strategy game.
That's Crusader Kings.
That's Europa Universalis.
Oh, Europa Universalis. Oh, yeah, I always mix up the two.
Well, I think this could probably be valid for any of the Paradoxes game, but that's perfectly fine.
I love Stellaris, by the way, so Stellaris I would have spotted right away.
Yeah, but that's history, so that's...
Exactly.
You would have spotted Stellaris number... Yeah, absolutely. Okay, number 2. El Presidente is back. Prove yourself once again as a feared dictator or peace-loving statesman on the island state and shape the fate of your very own banana republic through 4 distinctive eras.
It's probably tropical. Don't ask me which one.
Yeah, again, it could be valid for any of the tropicals. Right, number 3 for you. Rebuild hope in a world that was lost in the fog. Lead your pioneers across the isles, unite scattered tribes, raise thriving communities, and discover the history of your people as you reclaim your world in the new story campaign.
Fog. I wanted to say Frostpunk, but I don't know. It's not fog. Which game has a lot of fog?
It's Pioneers of Pagonia.
Oh, Pioneers. Yeah, okay. I didn't get the fog part. But it's a great game, by the way.
It is a very, very good game. Patrick, thank you for joining us. Good luck for your 18th of February launch.
Yes, see you in the Delta Quadrant.
And we will see you very soon. I will be back after this short break. All right, fun fact, the person who did the diorama for this video of Bolt Action is Paolo. So remember to write Paolo emails. Can someone write the email address there so he reads some emails? He doesn't have anything to do. Is my favorite pirate streamer connected? Here you are,
Hello.
Burke. How are you?
Hi. Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm fine. Living the dream. What about you? How's things?
Very snowy. I'm in Indiana, so Mother Nature dropped a huge amount of snow on us, but I'm dug out now. The driveway's clear, so I can function again after 3 days of just vegetating at home.
You can go to the supermarket.
Indiana's used to it. Like they didn't go crazy with the snow. That was more. I think it was more south. They emptied all the shelves and everything. But Indiana's used to seeing. At least we used to be. Nowadays, you never. These kind of snows are very rare. But we used to get these kind of snows all the time. So the infrastructure and everything's used to it.
All right, yeah. I've seen some snows in Tennessee, also very bad, and it's down souther. So it's going to be an interesting week for some of them. And good luck to anyone who's snowed under. Burke, I've seen from the suggested games list you sent us. There's the first game just gets me so interested. I didn't know about its existence. So, Drifter Star. Tell us about this.
I just found it because I went to Steam to see like upcoming releases, which I like to do sometimes. And I just thought, wow, the space game looks weird. So of course I had to get it. It was only a couple bucks too, like $4 or something like that. So I tried it out and we played it, and it's basically like you start as a piece of rock and you have to smash into other rocks. And then as you build up mass, you can, choose your evolution, like with gravity. Like, do you become a planet? Do you become a like a Saturn-like planet, a gas giant, eventually a star, and then ultimately to even a black hole, because you just keep adding mass to become more gravity. It was really neat.
That's really cool. How long did you play it? How long is the gameplay? For how long can you play it?
Not that long. I mean, it's a couple hours.
Okay.
Like depending on how good you are at it, didn't seem like any crazy difficulty mode to it. You just kept going till it kind of snowballed. I think whoever making the game was just like, I just want somebody to think this is cool, and it was. Really cool. It was cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of physics involved. I was checking on the website on the trailer. Looks really, really neat. I'm gonna give it a go.
Very surprise game for me. I thought, oh, come on, $4, and I'm having a good time with this. Sure.
That's great. You're going more serious with your second suggestion of the month, right?
Yeah. This game. This game is like okay. So and when I first saw it, I was like, cool, Total War. It's a little bit different than Total War. It wants to simulate actual battles as they happened in real life. So you don't get to. So if Total War is kind of like more, more action oriented. You go. You can react quickly. This one, you don't react that fast at all because you have to send. Around your general, they can react, but around it, there's like a small circle around your general where he can command units that are near him. Outside of that, he has to send a runner.
All right. Okay.
So if you got horsemen who are like way on the far flanks or infantry on the far left and right flanks from the center or wherever your general's at, it literally has a little horse that has to run from your general to the units to issue the order that you just gave out. So they're not reacting to what you as the player want immediately. They react to what gets to them, just like in real life battles in this time period. So I didn't see any campaign, not like Total War where you have this big grand campaign, nothing like that. It looks like it's just battles throughout history and you just play the battles and that's it so far.
Yeah, we've briefly touched on the intro, on the news intro, and I think that there's being in early access. I guess there's going to be more added to it in the future, but it does look like it's a sort of accuracy that is probably frustrating some players because gosh, I just ordered you to attack and it doesn't happen.
And they will react on their own. So sometimes, like if they're off on their own and you haven't given them an order and a unit gets close, they'll just randomly charge because they did that in history too. You know, like they just react to a charge that a general maybe doesn't want them to do, but they did anyway. So I think it needs a campaign. The battles are cool, but I definitely see that players would get over that, you know, because it needs to be something else that you do as well as everything else with the game.
Most of the early access games now are like slow start and then building up. So we'll keep an eye on this and keep everyone posted. And your third game is an award-winning game. Was in the list of best games in 2025. So that's Jurassic World latest.
I just got to it. I only play first time playing it. Just a couple days ago, actually. I've played all of them, 1 and 2, and like the novelty of like, hey, why don't we make a game where you run the park? Is I can't believe it took developers this long to really make a Jurassic Park in this regard. But in terms of like the first two, this one is by far it's the best one they've ever done. To be able, you manipulate the terrain and all the extra dinosaurs they've added to it. I mean, it's if we were looking for like the perfect sim, this is about as close as you can possibly get with 3.
It's also a huge game. It never ends. I like all the genetics as well. It's really cool. All the things you can do with your experimenting with new breeds and stuff. It's a game where you can easily get sunk into for hours and hours and hours.
Absolutely.
And the graphics are great as well. Burke, is that something? Just it's an off question. You can just not answer if you want. Is there anything that you're looking forward to in 2026? Is it something that you're like, all right, I'm really looking forward to this game, or anything that you can think of?
Well, I am a 40K fan. So there's a lot of good news from me right now.
Yeah, quite a lot.
I mean, Total War. I mean, my reaction to them announcing the Total War 40K. That is the dream game for me. It's been like that since I played Medieval 2 back in the day when that first came out, and I was like, man, this would be a great setting for 40K if they ever made a video game for 40K in this. It's the scale that only Total War can bring. It's the scale. The fact that we're going to be able to do a game that is going to be the true scale of a 40K battle in Total War is... I'm one of those guys. It's like I'll just be zooming in, watching the battles. You know, like I might lose the fight, but man, it was so cool to just watch them all clash and have it out. I just love that. But Dawn of War as well. And some people are confused. They're like, "Why is Total War and Dawn of War?" They're two completely different things that people don't realize. But I'm also really excited for Dawn of War. So
yeah. I think I'm looking forward to Dawn of War 2. I think it's going to be that thing where I mean from what I've seen, it's going to be that thing that the Dawn of War fans were praying for so long. So and that's going to be probably the first thing we get. So we're gonna be
it's right around the corner, and quite frankly, like I'm glad they're going back to Dawn of War 1 style. So all of that considering, I think that it's going to be successful as heck. It just looks, sometimes when you've played enough games, you can see a trailer and go, yeah, you did it. You got it. I could tell by the trailer. It's going to be great.
That's absolutely true. Burke, thank you very much for joining us again, and we look forward to the next chat with you, and hopefully see you in the battlefield somewhere, somehow.
Take care. Right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Guys, before we give you the final news, Slitherine, thanks for joining us today. The show is doing very well. We have started this as I wouldn't say it as an experiment, but we wanted to see how someone like a publisher of video games would be discussing about other people's video games as well, and the reception we got was amazing. So the hot seat is growing. So thank you very much to everyone out there, just sharing the links and sharing the format with others, because it just makes us very proud of what we're doing. Thank you very much. Just our last few minutes about Slitherine and what happened at Slitherine during this time frame. 2 months I've been very, very busy. I'll just give you the very, very abbreviated version. If you want to check what happened at our Slitherine Next show back in December 9th, the video is available on YouTube. You can check it out there. We had a number of announcements. Of course, the Bolt Action announcement that you have just seen before this section. Bolt Action is the official digital version of the tabletop war game, and more. That game is going to be very, very big. There is Dev Diary being published just about yesterday or the day before yesterday, which got a lot of attention from general press. So check it out. There's a lot of interesting bits and pieces about how we're planning to transform the war game into the digital version. So check it out, because this is going to be the basis on which we are sort of having the some sort of relationship with the community to sort of get feedback from as well. Also, we've announced Nightmare Frontier. This is a game that is very much linked to this show, because this game, we saw it the first time thanks to the amazing 2D Kiri, who suggested it in her section in the very first episode of the show. Since then, we had chats with Ice Code Games, and we sort of picked up the publishing rights for it, and we're helping it reach 1.0 and hopefully a lot beyond that. So that's now part of our offering. And also we've announced the Radio Commander, as in, Slitherine has acquired the rights and IP for the Radio Commander franchise. So you'll see that the Radio Commander Vietnam is now under our umbrella, but also announced the next iteration of Radio Commander series, Pacific 41, which is releasing this year and is currently in development. Also, we've announced Battle Plan, or actually we've showed more Battle Plan stuff. Battle Plan is a game that's going to release in the first part of this year. We don't know when exactly, but we'll keep you posted on that. Again, one of the games that have more wish lists for us at the moment. So very much looking forward to this release. 2 episodes of the Geek Recipe have been released in the meantime. One with Pete Hines, the marketing guru behind the success of Bethesda, and Guido Schmidt, the main designer on the Angry Birds series. These 2 episodes are available on YouTube, and also you can go and check out the latest on Broken Arrow. Yesterday we have made a further update on the development of the game. Lots have been announced and lots have been disclosed about the future development of this game. Check out the episode on YouTube again, and we probably see some of the many questions you ask about this game answered by our very own Alberto and from the developer of the game. This was a great episode. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing you back in the last Wednesday of February. With more guests, more news, more interesting stories, but also with the same passion for the great strategy games. Thank you very much for following us, and I'll see you next time.